When you're booking your holiday, you're faced with endless options. Where to go, where to stay, even how many pools, how many pillows.
One thing you assume is taken care of is the safety of you and your family.
But the deaths of 2 Wakefield children in Corfu 4 years ago from carbon monoxide poisoning showed that maybe hotel safety is something we just can't take for granted.
Since that tragedy, Yorkshire MEP Linda McAvan has been campaigning on the issue. She's with us here in the studio.
Also joining us is Michaela Vuerick. She's from consumer organisation ANEC.
Linda McAvan, coming to you first of all. Many people will be familiar with the tragedy of the shepherd children. How often are cases like that actually happening?
Well, thankfully, these kind of cases are fairly rare. The shepherd children were the first case of death in a hotel by carbon monoxide. Of course, there are other deaths at home from carbon monoxide, but there has been a death in the UK as well in a hotel by carbon monoxide poisoning. So it's not an everyday occurrence, but it's too common to just, brush it aside as a one-off accident.
Michaela, what kind of problems are you encountering, are your members telling you about in terms of fire safety from hotels?
Well, consumers expect the same level of safety wherever they travel in Europe. But unfortunately, this is not always the case. In fact, if you would go, for instance, to a hotel in Romania, and the hotel manager would not have given enough instructions to his staff on where the fire extinguishers are, or let's say we should not make a difference whether you stay in a small hotel or in a big hotel, whether in Romania, let's say, or in France or in Italy, there should not be any difference. Consumers expect the same level of safety anywhere in Europe.
Linda, coming back to you, after the tragedy of the shepherd children, you contacted the hotel industry and tried to get the industry to voluntarily take some kind of action. Did you have any success?
Well, we did have some success because in the UK, ABTA, the Travel Association, National Travel Association, they put some guidance in their guide to their companies saying you must check carbon monoxide safety. And hotels are looking at some voluntary measures, but the problem is we don't have something which says very simply, and it was Mr. Shepherd, the father of the children, who said to me, look, why can't we have a law that says if you have a gas boiler present in a hotel or a individual gas water heater like the one in the hotel room where the shepherd children died, there must be a carbon monoxide detector. It's a simple piece of equipment, it's a cheap piece of equipment, but that is not the law, and there's nothing at the moment which says this has to happen. And I think it's a very reasonable request from Mr. Shepherd, and I don't understand why the industry doesn't just comply.
I mean, HotRec, which is a kind of hotel representative organisation for across Europe, says that earlier this year it had a breakthrough. It created a new standard that it wanted to see kind of rolled out, I suppose, to its members. It said it was a state-of-the-art methodology on fire, for example, and also committed to recommendations on monoxide. Is that not going far enough?
Well, the problem, HotRec's a European Association of Hotels, and it has national associations that are members of that association. The problem was that there's nothing that's binding on the hotels themselves. The national associations have signed up to some kind of agreement, but the individual hotels are the ones that have to make the difference. And what I'd like to see is hotels themselves saying, yes, we promise the travelling public that if there's a gas appliance there will be a carbon monoxide detector there. Had there been one in the case of the Shepherd family, the children wouldn't have died because the alarm would have gone off, they would have been warned there was a problem with the boiler, and the accident would have been avoided. It's a very, very simple thing, and as I've said, it's something which I don't understand the resistance of the hotel sector to such a simple gadget to install in their hotels.
And Michaela, coming to you on the issue, the wider issue of fire safety, do you believe that now it's time for European legislation to guarantee safety so that people know when they go to a hotel abroad that minimum standards at least are in place?
Absolutely. This is the call we have been making for many years now as ANEC. We think that a binding legislative instrument is necessary for the safety in hotels. Namely a directive. It would give enough flexibility and enough protection for consumers. Voluntary instruments are not the tools for safety. Safety should not be an optional. It should not be something you can choose. It should be everywhere in Europe.
And what about potential concerns about the costs that might put onto hotels? I know many hotels are quite small. What would you say to anyone who might have those concerns?
Well, many of the requirements that are needed to have a safe hotel are not costly measures to be taken. There are many things that are very simple, many measures that should be taken that are not at the moment considered everywhere, and we believe that both in small hotels as in big hotel chains, we should feel safe.
Linda, those alarms that you'd like to see put in, how would you regulate that? How would you go around and check could you go around and check every hotel room that they've installed those, if that indeed is what regulation now presents, now creates?
Well, I couldn't do it, but the hotels have to have safety checks. The hotel that the children died in was a 4-star hotel, a large hotel, where people should expect very, very high standards indeed. As has been said, you know, you can choose your pillow menu now in hotels. Some give you slippers and bathrobes, and yet they're reluctant to take basic safety measures. How would you regulate it? You require an inspection. The travel agents themselves have their own inspections of the premises. But at the moment, it's not on their list of requirements to have this monitor. There is now a requirement to check carbon monoxide safety, but it doesn't say there has to be a detector. If there was a detector there, even an untrained site agent could see that the detector was there, and obviously the detector would have to be maintained, but that would be the clear responsibility of the hotel. And if there was a failure, then the hotel would be liable.
And how likely is it now, do you think, that there will be a law? Do you think there's a readiness at an EU level to start legislation on hotel fire safety and carbon monoxide?
Well, we have seen progress. The hotel industry now recognises with the carbon monoxide that there is a problem. And they have started developing voluntary codes. The Association of Travel Agents has also started putting pressure on the hotels because they're the ones losing business. They're the ones who get criticised as well. I met the European Commissioner for Consumer Affairs last week in Strasbourg, and he was very clear that he thought the voluntary schemes were not enough. He knew about the case of the Corfu children and said to me that he thought something must be done, that people are travelling all the time, they're buying the product because you buy the product in your own country. And you assume that when you travel there's a common standard, there's common rules, and people are very shocked to find there aren't rules. I think we can change the standards. We need the public to ask about it, we need them to put pressure on, but I think there is a mood now for change. But it is 4 years since the children died, and frankly I think it's all coming very, very slowly indeed.
Well, I think we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks ever so much, both of you, for joining us.